US President Donald Trump played golf Saturday at his course on Scotland's coast while protesters around the country took to the streets to decry his visit. According to Associated Press, Trump and his son Eric played with the US ambassador to Britain, Warren Stevens, near Turnberry, a historic course that the Trump family's company took over in 2008. Hundreds of protesters gathered on the cobblestone and tree-lined street in front of the US Consulate about 100 miles away in Edinburgh, Scotland's capital. Speakers on a makeshift stage told the crowd that Trump was not welcome, and they criticized British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for striking a recent trade deal to avoid stiff US tariffs on goods imported from the UK. Protests were planned in other cities as environmental activists, opponents of Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza, and pro-Ukraine groups loosely formed a Stop Trump coalition. I think there are far too many countries that are feeling the pressure of Trump and that they feel that they have to accept him, and we should not accept him here, said June Osborne, 52, a photographer and photo historian from Edinburgh who protested wearing a red cloak and white hood, recalling The Handmaid's Tale. Osborne held up a picture of Trump with "Resist" stamped over his face. Saturday's protests were not nearly as large as the throngs that came out across Scotland when Trump played at the resort during his first term in 2018. While in Scotland, Trump is set to talk trade with Starmer and Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president. But golf is a major focus. The Trumps will also visit another Trump course, in the Aberdeen area in northeastern Scotland. They plan to cut a ribbon on Tuesday, opening the second Trump course.
Proud and pleased to hand over the stage to some inspirational activists now, and if you're wanting to speak later, please come and find one of
This term, Trump continued to engage in racist behaviour, ranging from stereotyping of black
against the Russian, US and Chinese autocrats. One thing that we can do in Scotland invasion, write to your MP to demand they sign the UK Parliament early day motion calling on the
20 years, Israel is burying evidence. Israel is not allowing. You have not stopped marching. You have not stopped visuals. You not my family. Not my sister. Not my friend.
I think the vast majority of Scots have this sort of feeling about Trump. Even though he has Scottish roots, he's a disgrace to us.
I'm here to oppose fascism, to say that Trump isn't welcome in Scotland. I think there are far too many countries that are feeling the pressure of Trump and that they feel that they have to accept him, and we should not accept him here. We should not accept fascism in any form at this point. Have we not been through this before? So as a Scot and as an American, I'm a dual citizen, we're saying no. We don't want you here, and we wish that more countries would say no. We wish the British government had said no.
Has been turning his back on us. Yesterday, I heard from a consultant.
I have a problem with the pipes being used to welcome Trump on other visits and things, and I want to use this symbol of, it's a symbol of Scotland, and I want to make it clear that he's not welcome in Scotland.
Yet another 50 days to agree to ceasefire talks before considering implementing these sanctions.
black reporter to catering to white supremacists during their violent protests.
Where he stopped. His administration have now taken the B out as well and erased bisexual history.
The crisis in relations between Azerbaijan and the Russian Federation continues. Baku responded to raids by Russian security forces on the Azerbaijani diaspora planned to sue Russia for the case of the downing of the Azerbaijani civilian plane by Russian air defense, and is demonstrating a tough stance towards Moscow. The Kremlin has already announced a difficult period in relations between the two countries, and Russian propaganda has even suggested a military conflict with Baku. In an interview with Glavred, the director of the Center for Middle East Studies, Igor Semivolos, told what to expect from the aggravation of Azerbaijani-Russian relations, explained how Azerbaijan's geopolitical position is changing and what is happening in the South Caucasus, assessed the likelihood of military provocations from Russia, and predicted the further actions of Baku and Moscow. In his previous speeches, Aliyev has repeatedly said that one should never agree to the occupation of one's territories, but he has not previously linked these words directly to Ukraine. A direct and public statement specifically addressed to Ukraine has indeed become an innovation. The hysteria in Russia after Aliyev's statement is connected with the fact that it has invested a lot of resources in creating media and a pool of experts who, in Moscow's opinion, promote the Azerbaijani position and work to bring the positions of both sides closer together. However, everything has turned out in such a way that the Russians have found themselves in circumstances that are against them, and they themselves are unable to change anything. And these circumstances demonstrate that Russia is incapable of pursuing an equal policy, admitting its mistakes and acting in accordance with international politeness. Until recently, the context of relations between Azerbaijan and Russia was absolutely clear. For example, Moscow was actually a silent ally of Baku in the Karabakh War, and Baku never voted for UN resolutions on Russia, and in every way demonstrated a very cautious position regarding Ukraine. It provided our state with humanitarian aid, but refrained from transferring military aid. However, Azerbaijan and Aliyev still faced a negative attitude towards themselves from Moscow. Such disrespect influenced the behavior of Azerbaijanis, he added. Experts say if the Russians weren't idiots, they would obviously apologize, change their attitude toward Azerbaijan, and try to somehow mitigate this escalation. However, Moscow is doing the opposite, because it is not accepted for Russia to apologize to Azerbaijan. The hysteria we saw from the Russians only confirms this. In general, Azerbaijan's behavior will continue to change. Over time, the context will only worsen, because the situation with the downed plane near Grozny, the repressions against the Azerbaijani community, and calls from Russia regarding supposedly the bombing of Baku create a negative context for further relations. And Aliyev's speech with words directly addressed to Ukrainians testifies to how much everything has changed. The Russians have changed Aliyev's policy with their own hands, he told. I don't think there will be military provocations, but we need to keep a close eye on the border between Russia and Azerbaijan in the north. Azerbaijan has strengthened its subjectivity. Baku has taken part in negotiations between Israel and Turkey as a mediator, as well as between Syria and Israel. It works with the United States and has significantly improved relations with France and Europe. Baku acts independently in these matters, and its alliance with Turkey strengthens it. Azerbaijan is already a fairly independent player and will only strengthen its position in the future. This will give Baku confidence that Russia will not be able to do anything. And if Azerbaijan, despite certain objections from Moscow, manages to sign a peace agreement with Armenia, Baku will effectively get rid of its last dependence connected with the Karabakh conflict, in which Russia played a very large role. He added,